I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
Hey, this is Matt. Once again, we're about to another review. There's another paid request, this time from Anthony. Thank you so much for that. For those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos, feel free to send them either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Now, this is for a film called Sweet Home from 1989. And I did not know what this was. And then looking a bit into it, it has a bit of an interesting history where this film was made. When this film was made, and the plot is this small group filming a documentary, go to this house, abandoned mansion, middle of nowhere, where these famous artists apparently have these paintings that are extremely precious. Let's go in there, take a look at them, film them. Maybe we could restore. Maybe we could do something with these paintings. Well, there's a poltergeist there. A mom whose baby had died because the mom didn't realize the kid had walked into the furnace, and she turned on the furnace, and the baby, the kid died. And then she freaked out, and I'll get more to that in a bit. Anyway, there's a poltergeist. When this movie was made, an RPG video game was made. And it was Capcom. Now that game was also called Sweet Home. And then that RPG video game was an inspiration for Resident Evil. Yes. So technically without this film, there would be no Resident Evil. I thought that was really fascinating. Now, with that said, if you go into this movie expecting Resident Evil, you'd be probably disappointed. I mean, yes, there is a mansion, middle of nowhere, but it's not like zombie dogs and zombies, and there's some pretty good effects. by Dick Smith. Yes, the legendary makeup effects artist Dick Smith had a hand in the effects. And I did not know that, but I thought, wow. Like Dick Smith and other American makeup effects did, wow. And it's about 40 some minutes of build up, to here's a TV producer, here's his daughter, here's his assistant who has a bit of a fondness for this TV producer. You have this reporter who's a bit full of herself. You have this cameraman that's just doing his job. So you have about 5 people. And it's a build-up of getting to know this mansion, bit of the good atmosphere, good look of the mansion. I like the way it looks, the way it's lit, and these pictures start appearing. They hear about the story, about what happened. Strange things start happening. They find a baby, casket that's been dragged in. They find it, they bury it back where it belonged. The daughter talks about how she misses her mother, and the assistant's like, "Well, I like your father." And the girl's like, "Hey, you want to put on this dress? My mother had it." And no, I don't know anything about that. Like, I don't know about that. I don't know if I'm gonna go that far. Pretty much, the daughter is looking at this as assistant for perhaps to be a surrogate mother, whether now or the future. She's like, I don't know about that, which I understand. It's a bit of a weird, like, oh, I like your dad, but I don't know. Do I want to go that far? I don't know. But the first 30, 40 minutes I'm watching this, I'm going, okay, this is there. But when it gets to 40 minutes in, it really takes a turn. And you get a lot of really cool Dick Smith effects. And that's when it really comes into play. And it's worth the wait for me, and maybe for you, if you like these kind of effects of old school. And if you don't know Dick Smith, look him up, because me talking about would not do any justice. Just type in special effects Dick Smith on Google, and you'd be like, oh, he did that, he did that. And this is kind of the film that's forgotten that he worked on, among with others. And do I want to spoil that? Well, I'll start now and spoil. So, spoiler warning. The shadow is burning a guy's body in half, the cameraman guy. And then you see like the top half crawling. And it's very goopy, gory, bloody effects where he's crawling and his torso's been burned in half, and you see the gory mess behind him, and you get a lot of up-close shots of it. This battle axe falls and lands on a girl's head, and she lands in a wheelchair and almost doesn't quite slide all the way back like Friday the 13th Part 4, but you're close. And then what's left is the dad, the TV producer, the assistant, and the guy's daughter. And they go up, they see that the woman who got the bow axe, she's now turned into this big, glowing, red, goopy mess. They're like, ew. I don't know, something about that is like, ew. Just the fact that somehow she's now kind of melting, but again, it's like big, glowing, goopy stuff. And then soon after, this older guy arrives who knows about what's going on, who knows, I don't want to say he's the crazy Ralph of the movie, but like, he knows what's going on. He wants to help. He's like, wait a minute, that girl, she's not your daughter. And again, this is when things really get into high gear. Like, the girl runs off, they find her, but then she's in shadow, and they just see the shadow of her face. You just see these red cracks appearing. Like craters on the face of the shadow of the face. And like the flashlights are breaking and people are being thrown around. And then the guy tells a legend about, I mentioned like the lady was married and had a baby, and the kid had walked into the furnace and she didn't notice, and when she turned it on, the baby's face was burned and died, and then she decided to kidnap babies and put them in the furnace because she wanted to find a playmate for her dead kid. A very fucked up, crazy legend that I just see being the basis of an RPG horror video game, which, again, this was. And then, apparently some of the people worked on that video game worked on Resident Evil and said, well, yeah, a mansion in the middle of the woods. And, of course, the story's very different, but it's interesting where things came from. Kind of like Jacob's Ladder was an inspiration for Silent Hill. Although that I could see more of with how like Jacob's Ladder's comparison to Silent Hill, I see much more apparent than this is to Resident Evil. Like, if you didn't tell me that, I never would have. That would never would have come to mind. Other than the wide shots of the mansion amongst the trees, which kind of similar to when you play Resident Evil 1 for PlayStation, and before the mansion blows up, you see it among the trees. I like it. That's a similarity I can see. But yeah, some of the effects, like I said, I like that backstory. It's a very creepy, haunting backstory. I like the look of the house, both the outside and the inside. They did a nice job making it look abandoned and dirty and funky looking, like a house you just would not want to fucking be in. The acting is fine, but it's take it or leave it type of thing. It's fine. There's really nothing that I thought was bad with the acting. I do think it takes a bit too long for it to get going. I don't think you needed 40 minutes to do it. That's just me. I think, maybe 20, 25 minutes. Which I know seems unfair, but I'm just saying, and just my own. I think it could have taken it a bit faster. But like I said, when it gets going, like the older guy who came in to help him, he gets the girl and he comes out. But then he starts falling apart. He gives the girl to the dad and the assistant lady. But you remember the original Fright Night when they are shooting the guy and then stab him and he falls apart, but it's done rather quickly. Imagine that going a lot more slower, so it's a lot creepier. So it's like his eyes are melting, and then the body slowly melting. And like Fright Night, there's a lot of green. Not as much green here. And the flash is falling, and then it's the skeleton, and then the skeleton and the skull starts falling apart. Again, if you're a big effects fan, if you're a big Dick Smith effects fan, it's worth a look at the very least for that. Or if you don't want to watch the film, I'm sure you type in Sweet Home 1989 or Sweet Home Dick Smith, you maybe see the scene. They escape. Somehow, I didn't quite understand the daughter gets taken again. I think it's maybe she's not allowed to leave the house because of this curse. But the father and assistant are outside. The father goes back for his daughter, and then here's probably the thing I dislike the most. The father didn't die, but he disappears until the end of the fucking movie, when everything's over. And he didn't do an absolutely fucking thing. I thought that was... I didn't care for that. Because he jumps in, he disappears... Then when everything's over, we see in the house, the dad's in a cabinet with some thing, I guess, to protect him. I'm like, why is he in there? What happened? Did he get knocked out? Was he forced to go in there? Like, we don't know what happened. He went in, and then after like 20, 30 minutes, the movie's pretty much over. Oh, he's in there in this cabinet. I would like to have had the father do something to, help his own fucking daughter. It's not that the guy didn't want to. He's like, no, I'm going to get my daughter. It's just the script no, we gotta give it to the girl and have her do it by herself. Have it be a team effort. Now, again, the girl plays the assistant who steps up. I'm going to be the surrogate mother. I'm going to help out. This girl wanted me to put on this yellow dress. I do it as a symbol of me taking that step. And I'm going to get the crazy bitch's kid's grave as coffin. I'm going to jump over pits, let him pitfall Harry. And I'm going to go over there. I see a girl in the furnace. Power of the mind. It's the power of the night. Creeps all crawling. It's the power of the night. Get the girl. Get out of there. A cool final monster at the end. That's another thing I like. It's a really cool looking final monster. No matter how I describe it, I won't do it justice. So I would say this. Even if you don't want to watch the film, which I think it's not a bad film, I would give like maybe, at the very least, 3 out of 5 stars just for the effects alone. But is it the characters were not unlikable? The look of the film I don't mind. The dirty, abandoned look of the house. The monster looks really cool. Done practically. Not a bad, like, horseshit out of the blue, what the fuck ending. I'll say this. There's a movie I reviewed called House. Not the film William Cat, although that's a great movie. But from the 70s, it was a Japanese film. This was called Heisei. It's a film called House. Has a really weird face for a cover. That movie had much more energy and passion and insanity to it. While this had a better story, a better handling of his characters, even with the complaints I have, compared to that. And I thought this had a bit of a better ending. Where, and when I say ending, I just meant the finality of it. Because like that movie House from, what is it, 77 or something? I forget. That's really crazy, insane stuff. Like, what the fuck? This is just bonkers, Evil Dead 2 like style. But this, it actually was telling a story. I mean, there's spoilers where here's your kid, boom, reunited. I guess the ghost couldn't come out of the house and get the fucking grave herself. I guess not. I guess technically, yeah, she possessed someone, the reporter, to do it earlier. Oh, yeah. And by reuniting with her kid, the soul's at peace, and then the movie's pretty much over. Yeah, at least it set something up. It told it. It didn't give so. Nope, not really. That's not really what the story is. That's not really what happened. No, it told a story, and there's a finality to it, and that's an ending I prefer more than, I forget how. I think like everyone dies, and I don't know, the house just goes crazy. I'm like, what the fuck happened? Like, again, House is again, the William Cat film, I'll say the William Cat House is better than both movies, but again, the Japanese House, that is more energetic and crazier and a bit more fun to watch, but this is a bit more consistent with some really good effects in the second half and a bit more of a satisfying story. I kind of wish there was a combination of the two. Like, have the crazy energy and sanity of that 70s house, but then have the semblance of story, finality, and the final monster at the end of here. Like, if you did a combination of the two, you really have something. But it would definitely be an interesting double feature, that movie and this movie. And yeah, I do wish that the father did something, because the two make it out, and then the father, he gets out of the cabinet, and he reunites with them. I just like, let the dad do something. Like, have the girl rescue the girl from the fire and talking, and then have the dad come in with all the surrogate mother's in trouble, and then the dad comes in and gives the the baby, the coffin, the body back to. Let the dad. If they did that, I think I would have been even. You know, it probably would have gone from like 3 to 3.5 out of 5 stars. I would have bumped it up a half star just to have the father do something. But it just made me go, what's the point of this character then? This character is utterly pointless. He doesn't accomplish anything. Why didn't he just die? Why didn't you just have another cool death scene? He didn't do anything. And if you don't keep him around, let him do something. It's not that I dislike the character, it's just give him something to do. Give something to accomplish. But they don't, and that pissed me off. So I didn't like that. Again, I think the first 40 minutes, you could have had that a bit faster, like maybe 20 or so minutes in. We're really going. But, yeah, it's worth a watch curiosity-wise to see, oh, well, this was turned to a game. And the game was then a basis for the Resident Evil game later. The Dick Smith effects in the second half, the atmosphere of the house, doesn't pull some bullshit ending out of his ass. Overall, I liked it. I did like the film. There is, I forget, you have to search a little bit. There is a version, I think it was on YouTube, where it is, if you go on YouTube, you have to click on the subtitle thing, because for all I know, there is no English dubbed version. It's just subtitle, and I don't think this ever got released in the US. I don't think he ever did. So your best bet to watch is on YouTube, and it's worth a watch. Like I say, it's worth a watch. It's not flawless, but overall I did like it. Again, if you like Poltergeist movies, if you like Dick Smith, you have special effects movies. Again, you may wait a bit to get to them, but overall, not a bad movie. Not a bad movie. You know, didn't pull too much bullshit twist endings or stuff. And apparently there's some friction during the making of the film, where one person wanted a more serious movie, one person wanted a bit more comedic movie. And maybe that's one of the reasons why it didn't get released in the US. I don't know for sure. But yeah, decent film, decent flick. So, with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.